And we will take other GOEs that are here, like the Nigerian Port Authority. We are also going to take EFCC if they are here, and then NFIU.
Other participants, thank you. I think in this session where we have had questions, Senator Abiru, Senator Aliro, Senator Kalu, and others, has given us the opportunity to state where we are and the direction we are going. All important is that our own domestic revenue effort is robust and it is improving. We have heard from Customs, we have heard from FIRS, and we have heard from NUPRC, among others, that our revenue effort is going in the right direction. But you know, even under the Fiscal Responsibility Act, there is a limit on the budget deficit, the amount of the budget that can be financed by borrowing. So clearly, just as for any normal company, they have their equity, their own resources, and they leverage that with borrowing sensibly, sustainably, and productively for their institutions. And it is the same with government. An important measure is that we started last year with a budget deficit 6.1% of GDP, of the national wealth. And that is seen as extremely high everywhere except in America. They too have a budget deficit of 6%, but then they print the dollar and everybody else accepts it, so theirs is a very special case, but it's a problem for them as well. Already, by the first half of this year, the budget deficit, the amount of borrowing compared to the wealth of the country, was already down to 4.4%. Under the MTEF, is expected to go next year to about 3.8%, headed towards the limit of 3% that's allowed under the Fiscal Responsibility Act. And in addition, a lot of the borrowing has been funding at 1% per annum, 10 years grace period, another 30 years to pay. And that type of funding comes when the multilateral institutions, such as the World Bank, when they look at your program, your strategy, your macroeconomic policies, and they see them as worthy of support, they see them as being progressive for the economy, and then they provide that kind of funding. So it's a sign of their support for what we are doing. Of course, in addition to that, there is funding in the domestic market, and we have already said that challenge is being met, the challenge of higher interest rates. And of course, if you can fund in the open market, the international capital market, that too is a sign that they see you as worthy of support, worthy of financing. And just like my colleague, the Honourable Minister for Budget and Economic Planning, has said, the issue of inflation, Senator Aliro, Senator Kalu, there is the issue of inflation. And that is high. And it has to be defeated. If you look at the Western world, one of the strengths of what they have done, especially since the COVID shock, they have brought down the rate of inflation. And the governor of Central Bank is leading that battle, but with everybody else's help. But it's all about production. We are focused on increasing agricultural production. We are focused on a very strong dry season farming attempt, as we have had. We have had a good harvest right now, but liquidity must also be provided in order that we can buy up what the farmers have produced so that they can produce more. And in terms of the overall effect on Nigerians of government policies. I think one that was referred to, in addition to what is being done in the social sector, providing Nigerians with the wherewithal to go to the market and buy for themselves. That is a technologically driven process that is improving every day. We're reaching more and more Nigerians. But likewise, what is being rolled out in the very nearest future is help with housing, help for people who can find a small amount for a deposit but cannot pay 30% interest. We're having low rate of interest mortgages. You will be able to pay over 25 years. You will be able to afford the interest rate, maybe 10, 11%. So these are some of the ways in which the benefits of a situation where 5% of the wealth of the country was being wasted and given to a few on subsidies has now been reversed. And so the benefits of no longer have the benefits of market pricing of foreign exchange, market pricing of petroleum products will and are beginning to flow through to Nigerians through various programs as announced. Thank you.
DG Budget responded to it, but the issue of the present exchange rate via CBN, since we already is a market-based exchange rate, right? And we are pegging now at 1,004
For the budget.
for the budget 2025. The question to the minister is, as from January 2025, all government expenditures will be based on 1,004 or prevailing exchange rate.
Yes. I would say that clearly the issue of exchange rate in particular is very hard to predict one way or the other. And I think my brother, my colleague, the DG Budget, is a relatively conservative professional. And in that light, he has kept the budget smaller rather than larger. And I think that all that can happen is that we do get that lower exchange rate as a result of the various macroeconomic policies, more foreign exchange flowing into the economy, the exchange rate or the inflation rate going down, and therefore we hitting 1,400 is a possibility. But in the event that it does not happen, what will happen is that there will be more funds for us to bring to the National Assembly for appropriation. That really is all that can happen. Thank you.
Minister, I think that as the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Economy, there must be harmonization between the fiscal and the monetary, because I'm sure CBN alone cannot handle that. It is what happens in the fiscal that matters. Now, if you look at the question raised by one of our colleagues, and that has to do with the borrowing, our borrowing versus our IGR in 2024. From the presentations, the IGR has been surpassed quite well. Both IGR and the borrowing plan were there in our appropriation bill. So if the IGR was surpassed, should we then go and borrow less, or we still borrow the same money as per the appropriation?
Yes.
Honourable Minister, before you continue, we are looking at how to reduce pressure on the Naira as well as reduce borrowing. And one of it is that the present administration came up with a policy of crude for Naira, that is domestic sales for whatever refined petroleum product that we have in the country, which will now reduce the pressure on Naira. Looking at that, and then looking at some of the presentations from the customs, FIRS, in terms of revenue, if you look at the projection from the budget office, Honorable Minister, can you tell this committee that there is growth, or there will be growth in that presentation? Are we going to grow our economy with that presentation?
Without what?
You didn't get me. Okay, I will repeat it again. I said, looking at the policies of government where we try to reduce pressure on Naira by allowing Naira sales of crude, what it means is that we will have more foreign exchange locally. We will have more dollars because the pressure will have reduced by almost 30% or more on demand for dollar. What that means is that we are going to make more revenue in terms of Naira. And then the projection from the Comptroller General of Customs, where from his presentation, I assume, or if I heard you well, the revenue is going to increase by almost 20%. FIRS have also given us an indicator that there will be more revenue. But yet, we are going for NNPC too, but yet we are going for more borrowing. So will that make our economy grow looking at this context, or we will still be battling next year to correct these anomalies?
Thank you, distinguished chairman, and distinguished senators and honorable members. The revenue, despite the sterling efforts of FIRS and the Comptroller General of Customs, NUPRC and other revenue adding agencies, is still below the budget as at 2024. That is the reality. So that takes care of the issue of the fact that there was already a budget deficit envisaged in the 2024 budget as amended, and the borrowing that has been done according to the appropriation, according to the approval of the National Assembly. In terms of growing the economy and in terms of the need for foreign exchange, to the extent that for production that you need to increase productivity and grow the economy, you require, as the economy grows, you require even more foreign exchange. You require it for equipment, you require it for more raw materials. So it is not a question of not needing foreign exchange. It's a question of being able to attract and earn that foreign exchange through exports, number one, of oil and gas in particular, but then also manufactured exports in general. And so I think we are trying and we are committed to attracting enough foreign exchange, foreign direct investment from investors, foreign portfolio investment from people abroad that want to save with Nigerians, including Nigerians. Earlier in the year, we very successfully issued a domestically administered bond issue that was denominated in dollars, so that Nigerians who have money abroad and Nigerians who even live abroad can key in to the administration's policies, to the agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and bring those savings home. Those are the sources of foreign exchange that will help to boost economic activity and economic growth. So I think, Chairman, distinguished senators, the revenue effort has been good, but we still need to do better. And in the meantime, we still need to borrow productively, effectively, and sustainably, all in our name to invest in the Nigerian economy, not just infrastructure, but also social services, health services, education, and intervention in terms of a social safety net to help the poorest and most vulnerable. Those are all proper, legitimate, and productive uses of funds that have been appropriated by the National Assembly